Two kids from Queens, cut from a different cloth. Now joining forces, helping you to elevate your personal brand. Yeah, I'm talking about Nicky and Moose, bringing you a never-before-seen perspective into the mindset, the mentality, the behaviors, the driving force, but more importantly, the stories behind the people and brands that you know and love the most.
Was poppin'. Welcome, Nicky and Moose. I'm Nicky. That's Moose. What's up, Moose?
What up, y'all?
And welcome to the YouTube Livey. First and foremost, okay, like, share, comment, whether it's in the live chat, the comment section, do whatever you need to do. Episode 88 dropped today.
Come on.
Okay, drop today. So definitely check that out. Audio is fire. Shout out to everybody who already listened to it. And real quick, if we add value today or ever added value and you're watching the live, you can hit us up on the super chat. It's like tipping the creator. Or if you're watching the replay, hit the super thanks. It's like tipping the creator as well. So, Moose, how are we feeling?
Feeling pretty good. Thanks for asking. Things are well. I'm liking this new version of myself.
Okay. Shout out to the new version. Shout out to the new version.
The new, more mature, grounded, calmer version of me.
Oh, could we break this down? What does this mean? Because we look at you, you look the same. So what is this new version? I'm like, the face doesn't look leaner because you already are in shape. So it's not about that. So talk to the people.
Yeah. No, I just think, man, I wanted, and we'll probably dive into it a little bit more, but I'm separating my value as a person from my value as it relates to my work. And it's just helping me out, man. I'm like, yo, those two things are separate. I feel good. I'm grounded. I'm calm. And I've been pretty consistent in this spirit for a minute. So shout out to Ramadan for blessing me every year. But I feel pretty good, and I'm excited to get to it as always.
Listen, you like it. I love it.
That's it.
You know what I mean? You like it. I love it.
That's it.
I'm here for it. I like it a lot.
Let's do it.
Yeah, no. So what are we talking about today? I don't even know what we're talking about today. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about negotiation, man. We're talking about negotiation.
Everything goes to Moose.
which is like a funny topic, right? Because I feel that as a creative entrepreneur, and do me a favor, man, before we even get started, please share this with someone who you know is a creative who typically doesn't like handling the business side of their business or the negotiating part, or dislikes talking money and is uncomfortable with charging. Share this with a couple of people who you know need to hear this, man. This is important. It's an important topic. I think a lot of creative entrepreneurs struggle with this, and we want to make sure we give some guidance as we work our way on the other side. But in short, I just realized that more and more people, especially as they work in this industry as a freelancer, as a creative entrepreneur, as a coach, as a consultant, as a graphic designer or a content creator, they struggle when it comes time to talk money. It's just an uncomfortable conversation, especially if it's one of those things that has come to you pretty naturally. Like you started doing it for fun because you were good at it, you enjoyed it, and things started happening and somebody said something to somebody else, and next thing you know, the conversation came where somebody's asking you, or you're just doing it for fun and it's starting to take away time from your main thing, and you're like, okay, I got to make sense of this. I can't just keep doing stuff for free. I got to actually start charging. But you'll notice that you'll come across a pretty uncomfortable dialogue, which is, well, how do I get someone who sees this as a hobby for me to start respecting and appreciating what I'm doing, so much so that they're willing to pay me, and not just pay me, but pay me top dollar, right? And there are levels to it. You might be someone who's just starting off, or someone who's been doing it for a minute, and you're starting to find yourself in some of these negotiations, and you really want to figure out how to really make it happen. So I was like, you know what? I know this is common for business people. They don't even call it negotiation in business. It's more just a conversation or just a general agreement. But I wanna take the politically correct or the professional term, at least here in the beginning, to help our people get acclimated with some things that they can do to start navigating those conversations. So that way they can start winning a little bit, succeeding a little bit. Everyone's talking about, hey, you got to get what you're worth and charge tax. But you can't get what you're worth and charge anything if you don't know how to negotiate. So I'm like, come on, let's talk about it.
You're not gonna speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it then. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, you lead this off because I
Yeah,
suck at this part for myself. So I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes.
No, but as always, I mean, obviously, and you said it earlier when we spoke, like you're typically pretty good at helping people on your team navigate those, but it's when it comes to yourself that you're like, I'd rather somebody do it for me, which is actually a great strategy, by the way, right? Whenever you have someone talk on your behalf and they're pubbing you or representing you and doing most of the talking for you, that is better in the eyes of the person who's receiving this offer or whatever negotiation. And it's better for you. You're going to get a better outcome. But just tell me a little bit about your experience first. Like, how have you kind of approached those types of conversations? What is the mentality or maybe some lessons that you've gained from it? And then I got a few strategies that I'll share myself here and we'll make this thing work.
So for me, I suck at it. Okay. All right. Suck at it. Let's be real. I'm the one that, and we spoke on it in, I think on the live or the podcast where an individual will come to me, right? And they know I'm let's go. I don't even want to talk business. This sounds great. We're good. We're going to do it. But you got to talk to Moose. If Moose says cool, I'm all game, right? I'm not the one because I struggle for myself to put a price tag. Not saying I don't know my worth or anything like that, but it's more that more of a low-key relation type vibe. Like I want to have the relationship. We'll figure out the money side later on, but it stung me so much that I still haven't learned from it either though. So like I haven't, and I'm one of those, and it's so bad because I have this mentality of, and I think because I combine the relationship part of it, where if somebody stings you, you don't change who you are just because of that particular situation. You are who you are, so somebody's going to appreciate it, give you what you deserve, things like that, right? Because you've done right. And so I still have that mentality. Hence why I've gotten smart and said business-wise, I'm giving it to Moose. I cannot do it for myself. Now, for my guys, different story, right? Because I see what they're worth. I see that if we're trying to grow a business or whatever, that's not a problem. Boom, here's the price. Here's what do you want? I'll go with what do you want? Cool, I'll tax them. Here you go. And we keep it moving. But for myself, I know instead of continuously getting me in situations where I get frustrated because the money doesn't actually equal up to what I'm doing, I just get Moose to do that because I'm aware. I'm super self-aware of myself and what's my strong point and things like that. Where, Moose will come to me more on the creative side. Cool. Give me that. Right? Yo, how are we going to put this out? What is the best way? Cool. Give me that. Here. How are we going to get paid? And is it fair? That's going to you. I'm not, because everything's fair to me. I'll do it if somebody says this is the green light and we're going to the promised land with this. Bet we're going to the promised land. Yay, let's do it. I'm here for it. Moose, right? No. Oh, okay. Never mind. We're not going to the promised land, man. So,
yeah. You know what's crazy is that there's a lot of times where we let bad experiences talk us out of our way of doing things. And the unfortunate part is a lot of times, most times, our way of doing it, even through that bad experience, was the right way. We were just dealing with the wrong people, right? Like that
First of all, you're
sounds,
not gonna speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
it's like, yo, you dealing with somebody who has limited knowledge of how to do something and you didn't get the outcome that you wanted. And so you thought your approach was wrong. It's like, no, you were actually right. You was just dealing with the wrong person. So it is helpful to just not let those bad experiences ultimately scar you, where you're saying, no, I'm never going to do this, or I'm going to flip my ways and become, this type of person because that type of person didn't win. And it's like, no, the more at least for me, I'll tell you from my experience, the more I get exposed to it, the more I'm like, man, my original way of doing it is the right way. We have to outline a lot of these things out front, not on the back end when things are running. And we're just having to say, well, I guess it's too late to change anything now, so let's just keep going. And guess who's going to lose? You, most times, right? Because it's you didn't figure those things out on the front end. So I will say that, number one, even if you've had good experiences, bad experiences, don't let that change who you are. That's important to start there. I will say, though, you need to start changing your mentality around how normal these conversations are. So there was a time where everyone online was saying, hey, we need to normalize this or we need to normalize that. Well, one of the things that we need to normalize is talking money, the negotiation of money. And the one thing that you got to recognize is when you use the term negotiation, it's literally a conversation between two people to land on some form of mutual benefit for each party. So that doesn't mean I say one and you say yes. It could be, hey, what about two? I'm kind of thinking 1.5 because, so that is a normal part of negotiation. I think a lot of times we start to get uncomfortable with it. So we immediately say yes to the very first thing that we hear and put ourselves out in a bad situation. So just start there. Remember that these conversations are normal in the business practice. So although those of you who are watching either live or on the replay, you might identify more as a creative, just know that it is totally okay to have these dialogues and talk money, and they're not as uncommon as we may think they are. We might be uncomfortable with them, but you be told, man, a lot of people understand that is a part of the process. As a matter of fact, they actually start to question what's happening when you work too much without discussing money. It's almost like, wait a second, what? So you're not going, okay.
Listen, I don't want to talk about money. I don't like it. I don't want it. As much as I love money,
right.
I don't like talking. I think, no. So the crazy thing about that is that I'd rather get money from, like a platform or a company or something that doesn't have necessarily relationship situations. Like, you supposed to give me that. Don't give me that. Don't do that. Right? Like, I don't know, think about it. My 9 to 5, I had no problem negotiating though.
Really?
Yeah. There's no relationship with that.
For raises? Did you ask for
so
the whole nine?
Actually, no. I knew going into it how much I was like I negotiated how much I would get. Now the raises, I knew get me in the door. You have to give me a raise. Like, it's part, right? Now how much, because they have a certain standard, right? How much? Now that's debatable, right? But I know because of my work ethic, I'm always going to get the max. Easy, right? So, but getting in the door, I knew from the first time, oh, okay, I did this just to get in the door. But now the second time, oh, no. I know how to negotiate, right? Get these, cool. I know what as an IT, how much we make. Let's not play. Let's not do that. Boom. Right? But I think it's when you walk in your purpose and it comes easy. How do you charge that? How do you negotiate those things is where it gets a little bit difficult. I've gotten better. I'll say that. I've gotten better. But I believe now thinking back at it, it's like, oh no. But that could also go based off why when we talk about, and this is a live conversation with me and Moose again, when we talk about at a certain point, why wasn't certain things given? Why weren't certain price points talked about again? Is because in real life, because I don't believe certain situations are real life, in real life, in a 9 to 5, it's a given that if you put this much stats up, if you put this much work ethic up, right, you are given this amount of money as a raise, right? Mm-hmm. So I think I was trained to be like, oh, this is a given from people who don't care. This is a given. So now you're teaching me that if you have a relationship, now people don't take relationship like literally business relationship, it's mutual, woo, woo, woo. But you're saying now that there is an actual relationship, you talk on a regular, that's taken away? Weird for me. That's super weird. Fully aware of that's it. And I don't like that. I don't like the negative vibes of business. Like, oh, it's business. It's so heartless.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate that part about it. There's a lot of great, amazing things about it, but that part about it where it's super heartless, where business is business, I hate that part. And I think some people could feel me on that. But yeah, no, I now that I think about it, it's like, oh, in actual real life 9 to 5, if you do good, if the stats are up, you're supposed to. I'm not supposed to negotiate too much because my numbers don't lie.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? Carl said something today when I was talking to him, and he said, the truth is, in a corporate environment, most of these things are already structured for us, right? Like, kind of like you said, we know that there is an annual percentage that you'll get from a raise thing. Like, all of that stuff is already structured out for us. In the entrepreneur world, there is no guide. It's just people with different levels of experiences and talents and skill sets and goals and desires and ways of doing things all coming together in one marketplace to find a way to make it work. So it does create a totally different ball game on this side of the fence that creates some of those challenges. And I can see why you're saying, like, man, if my relationship with you has to take a dip or it takes a downward spiral because we have to discuss that, then I almost don't want to talk about it because I'd rather maintain the relationship.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Like, I'm okay. If this is how it is, I'll make it in the back end. I'll make it somehow, some way. But what I'm realizing by doing that, it's more work on me. Right? Where it could be just a simple conversation. It could be like, yo, let's talk about, okay, I've done this for this long, or you want me to do this. Okay, what is the payout? How are we, okay, for me to do this and take my time and make this right, this is going to take away from here. How are we compensating? I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
I wish I could. But I can't, and so I'd say somebody else do that because that's not in my wheelhouse. I wish, but there's some things that I will not continue to hurt myself on just because I'm not that way. And it's not about, well, you're just accepting you not being that way. No, I am making sure that is covered by somebody else. Because if I try to figure it out, I'm probably going to get a lot more errors in that way, than me just saying, yo, everything business, when it comes to numbers, please take care of that for me, because I'm probably going to make us work 7 years and get $5 for it. Like, I just, and then the next year we'll get 10. Like, I know this. So, and that goes to anybody who struggles with certain things. It's just not your strong point. You have to make that decision at some point. Am I going to spend the time to just get better on my own, or am I just going to give that up and stay true to what you're really good at? I'm cool with that. Cool with that. No one can fool with me in what I am good at. That is not what I'm good at. I know that.
That's a good word. Yeah, I will say getting representation is one of the ways to do it. That's one of the ways to make sure you're not getting beat. Because again, just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not happening. Like, the conversation will go down. Now, you might not be present in it. You might not be a part of it. You might not get the best of it, but it will go down. And of course, we're talking about, right, for those of you who are wondering, like, well, what do you mean by negotiations? I'm talking about the time that you're talking with a potential customer or client about the services that you provide, maybe the product that you'll sell, the design that you'll do for them, and the exchange that's going to happen, right? What are the terms of that exchange? Maybe it happens on a bigger level, which is between you and someone you'd like to collaborate with, and it's going to be more of a longer term partnership, right? Or two people coming together, more than two people coming together to talk about a business idea and something going into business together and trying to figure that part out, right? So ultimately, that's the time where a negotiation would take place, where we're going to really come together and say, all right, let's figure this thing out. And a few of you are definitely jumping at it and getting it right in the comments by saying those conversations need to be had early. That's the best time to have those conversations. So I know for me, one of the things that I often did was, because I was uncomfortable with that earlier in my career, I would try to put off the conversation as much as possible. I would just want to avoid it. And then I would get caught off guard whenever it would happen. So the thing that I try and do now is, even if we're not, because the timing of it is so critical too. You don't want to do it too late, because it could be too late. And you don't want to do it too early, so you don't jump the gun and look desperate or selfish or greedy, because that's not a good look either. So you really got to time it perfectly, or at least in a good time, to know, when do I have this conversation? But I will say, when you get an understanding of the roles and the responsibilities, the time, the efforts, the contributions that you're making, you should start to put some level of value to it, or get a better idea of, how is this creating value or bringing value to the person or the community that I'm interacting with? Because that's going to start to give you some level of leverage or ground level to stand on. So that's the thing that I try to do differently now. I just try to prepare myself ahead of time based on, like, real life contributions of what I've already done. So if I know that I've worked, and this can, again, you got to take it in context, because if you're just starting to work with someone now for the first time, it's difficult to do that. There is no track record or history. But that's why I say, if you've been in the game, you can just use your previous clients by thinking about, simply, how much have I helped other people make, or how much have I helped them to save, either from money or a time standpoint. And that can give you some level of baseline of, okay, I think the value of what I'm creating here is worth X. So I'm going to put that as a lever or something on a floor, so that I can measure against it, right? So that's what I'm starting to do now, and at least doing it ahead of time, so mentally I'm prepared, so that I'm not caught off guard. Because I know that when I'm caught off guard, what I often tend to do is just agree. So I'm not expecting we're going to talk about it, Nix. You bring it up and you say 74, and I'm like, yeah, sounds good to me. And then I'm like thinking about later, why did you say yes to that? That makes no kind of sense, right? So as long as I'm prepared mentally, that can help out big time. So again, for those of you listening in, man, I'm telling you, take some time to at least prepare yourself mentally before you enter to these conversations, so that when they do come up, you're not caught off guard. You understand, what is the least that I'm willing to take? What do I think this is truly worth for? And then you can work between that so that you can make a better decision for yourself, for your business. And you don't have to worry about, man, I didn't get paid what I was worth, or, what happens here. I got a question for you though, Nix. What would you do in the event that you had the conversation, you go into maybe some form of agreement, and you realize that you are doing more than what you anticipated, or more than what you're being paid for? What do you do in those scenarios? Do you say, hey, time out, we had to have another discussion? Or, what would you suggest someone do in that case?
Okay, I see what you did there.
I like your shirt, by the way. I will say that.
Thank you. Yeah. So right now, and once again, this is, I go through things so my people don't, right? So for me, there's no timeout. It's like, this is what I got myself into for not having all the details in place, right? And saying, if this was to happen, this is what needs to happen, right? Because things are gray. They could put that on there, cool, right? Now for the guys, I shut it all the way down. Yo, they said, Who said that? Let me talk to them. Yo, why are we doing this? That's extra. That was not even a part of what. So from that standpoint, it's like, no, I won't tolerate what I went through with them, and I believe I'm a better leader because of the crap that I had to deal with, right? When it comes to money and negotiating and things like that. Now, as I'm seeing it, I think for me, in certain situations that I'm in right now, the best advice that I got was, be busy so they don't give you extra stuff, right? Build stuff on your own so that they are not coming to you with the extra stuff here and there. Because the problem is, shout out to all my reliable people. The reliable people get the bitter end of the stick. They get the most work, regardless if it's in their wheelhouse or not. They get it because you're going to be the one that's going to do it, right? Now, if anybody can learn anything from me, stop that ASAP. Like, just stop. I fall back. You can stop it. You can be like, hold up. Nope. I don't even do this. Like, it's not even my thing. Where did this come from? Like, do not make yourself into a unicorn. That's a fact. Do not make yourself into a unicorn. It is not a great thing that it takes 6-7 people to replace you. It's not.
Dang.
Y'all want to think that's super dope. And you're super valuable. And they may pub you up in the beginning. Oh, you're irreplaceable. Woo, 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 woo. Right? Do not become that person that it takes 6 to 7 people to replace you. Because you're going to get your feelings hurt when those 6 and 7 people get paid more than you.
Hey. So don't become reliable? just be.
Listen, the reliable, I struggle with that because the reliable ones get so much work, like so much, that is so not necessary. And the people who aren't reliable is just like they get a pass all the time. Now it'll probably catch up to them, and like, I get it, whatever. And good things will come for those who are liable. I've seen it, so cool. But when it's in the midst of it, it's like, dog, like I can and I will because it's you. But what are you dumb? Like you not what? This is weird. So yeah, that's if anybody can get anything, I promise you, just like say no. Say no. Come on, practice with me. No. I can't do that. No. It's not part of what we agreed on, right? Try, and I say try, get a lot of things you do in writing. These are what I'm supposed to do. If it's out of that, we got to talk about it. There's got to be something that is discussed. Because the crazy thing, and like I said, it always goes based off, I was going to say something really foul. I'll say it still. It goes based off people who has a relationship with you or who are broke. Those are the people who are going to try to get the most out of you, which is unfortunate, right? But we have to create clear boundaries. What I can say confidently, I create clear boundaries for my team. Nope, we're not doing that. Nope, hold on, let's discuss it. Anything that these people say, tell them to come to me first. Because what they're going to do is treat you like everything else, and that's not what we're going to do. So make sure it comes to me. I don't care if it's the highest of high. Make sure it comes to me first. And they'll always go around. The people know because they don't want this smoke with me. Because I say no before I say yes. And I have no problem doing that. Because I believe I'm not going to allow them to go through what I went through. Period.
Yeah, and I think the documentation part is very critical, right? Because even now, I keep going back to this project that we're working on, but that's taken so much time, and I've learned so much throughout that process, right? Because we signed an initial contract to get, let's say, project A done. 6 months into the project A needed some changes. Now, we already have an agreement in place. They came back and added an addendum. I hope I'm saying that right, because I can never say that word right. But they added basically another portion to the contract with the changes that we're making and added the fees that we agreed to specific to that. So I went back and asked them, I said, hold on, like we already have a contract in place. As a matter of fact, we've already paid for most of the work to be done. So I would think that we're committed to getting this done because of how much we've already paid. They said, yeah, but we just want to make sure we're on the same page so that should we need to do anything beyond what's on this page, you'll know that that's a different type of response or that's a different type of charge. And I was like, yo, honestly, I can't be mad at that. You're being clear, direct, and upfront ahead of time to let me know that, hey, yes, we agreed on version 1 of the project. We're even agreeing to version 2 of the project, but we're giving you a flat baseline fee. And I can't give you a flat baseline fee without telling you that anything outside of what's on this paper is going to cost you more. And I had to respect it. It's like, oh, that shows the importance of documentation. I want to talk to Ronald's question real quick because he said, how about when you clearly bring value, have that convo about money, and it does happen, but there is a delay in signing contracts, invoices, or down payments. Now, and just using that same example, Nicky, maybe you can give one too, or how you handle those situations. But this particular organization that we're working with, what they did was, because it's a service that they're providing, just like what your phone bill would do, or phone company would do, or light company would do if you don't pay the bill in time, they're going to tell you, hey, if you don't pay in X amount of days, we're going to have to cut the service. So if you provide a service, I think you need to kind of calculate your X's and O's here for a minute and say, okay, is this a long-term relationship where I don't want to necessarily ruin it over a couple of bucks? That's not too crazy, because I know they're going to pay. I'll be honest, I've provided services and collected much later just because I know the people that I'm dealing with are good for it. There are some people who can operate in that spirit and stay true. There are others who may lose your trust, and you pretty much have to tell them, hey, I need you to pay the invoice before I can send you before I can start the services. So you got to use your discretion with that. But worst case scenario, if you've skipped ahead all of that and you're at a tough space or a tough situation, I think you need to consider stopping services so that you don't work deeper into a project and that person backs out and doesn't pay you anything or doesn't give you what you guys agreed to. So those are just some of the different things that I've seen happen and I've done for myself, just kind of evaluating where we are in the relationship and knowing if this person's good for it, or in some cases be like, you kind of lost that status. You gotta pay now for us to go further. So yeah, I don't know anything from your end.
Oh no, we stop it.
Really?
Stop it. Yeah, we stop it. I mean, I agree with you on that, where like if I know the person and they know they're like good for it, yeah, we keep going, right? We have one individual who is just the worst, right? The worst, but we'll always pay. It's not about, I don't have it. It's like legit. You just suck with admin stuff. You feel me? But if you don't, I'm not playing with that. No, it's gone. Let me know when, and they normally get it right. After a while, oh snap. Okay, no doubt. I get it, because I'm not playing with you. I don't care if that hurts your feelings. Like, yo, I'm good for it. No, honestly, I don't. I don't. That's what I don't play with. Like, if you are delayed with the invoice, if you like, if I know you good for it, I know you good for it. If I don't, it's gone.
Yeah, Ronald said, it's a product though. Does it still apply dealing with wholesale accounts? Especially in those scenarios, Ronald, we have partnerships who deal with, let's say, a third party company for some of the products that they need to run their business. Mm-hmm. There's always some level of, let's say, grace period that's offered, because that's how business flows, right? That's why the idea of net 30 was created, meaning that you get your products or you get your supplies and you pay the bill 30 days later, 14 days, 15, 30 days later. That's where that whole idea was come, because you have to sell the supply, make your money, and then pay your expenses. So there's always some level of grace period, but there has to be a cutoff point for you to say, hey, we need to readdress this. Either I got to stop supplying you until the balance is paid off, or you're going to accrue additional interest and penalties to get, if you want to continue, right? So that's where you really got to consider. And you also got to take into consideration, how many accounts do you have, or how many customers do you have? Right? I always talk about my hospitality business, because that's where I kind of learned and got my butt whooped when it came to billing and understanding those relationships. The mistake that I made was I had one key client that was supplying 98% of the business for us. So you're pretty much tied and don't have many options based on what you can do, because if you say no to them, yeah, it's almost like a power flex, or you're trying to run this fake move on them or a fake play. But what if they're like, okay, well, we're going to get somebody else? Then you're like, oh, okay, hold up. No, I was joking. April Fools. I take it back. Let's do this over. So you got to really like take into consideration what is the scope of your operation. If you lose this person entirely, will it hurt your business? If the answer is no, then whatever. Put some stiff boundaries on there and make sure that they can abide by them. For me, because I was reliant on them and I was still in that building phase, best thing I found was interest and penalties so that they see, okay, I'm incentivized to pay earlier on time because if I don't, I'm actually paying more. So those penalties and fees add up. I mean, it's the same reason why a lot of banks and credit cards or whatever will charge you interest on any balances you don't pay because they want their money back. So that's how I would operate in that space, even if we're products, because that's still pretty standard even in those worlds.
I'm sending an invoice right now.
Oh, she said, actually, any lessons? Any lessons or like just really bad experiences that you were like, yo, never again when it comes to a negotiation or just money talk in general with someone, I'm never going to do this. Like, what are some just absolute no's, no more, I ain't doing that?
That's a good question. I don't know if I have nevers. You feel me?
Really?
Like, I don't know if
Okay.
I have nevers. I try to stay away from nevers because everything that I ever said never to came back 2 times harder, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Man, I think I wouldn't say never, but I'm very cautious about quick turnarounds. Very, very cautious about that. Because with quick turnarounds, it comes with high expectations. I want this extremely fast, but I want it in the most spectacular way
Quality.
that you've ever done in your life. But I want it like tonight. Is that cool? Right? And it's like, and even for me, like when I want a quick turnaround, I don't expect the world. I'm like, yo, I know I said this like today, and I'm asking for this tomorrow. But if you could get this for me, please, thank you. Right? But if you have high expectations of, yeah, do this and give it to me in this kind of manner with these types of, I'm like, yo, chill out. I'm not.
Too much.
When did you know about this? When did you know about this? Because now that it's a rush, it's now an inconvenience for me. And we're not going to make it an inconvenience for me because you forgot to say this earlier. So, not a never, but very, very cautious about quick turnarounds with high expectations.
Yeah, that's good. I will say, at least for me, the urgency bluff. And by that, I mean, it's almost like a pump fake to take it or leave it right now. And it's like, if you're trying to force me into a bad decision or pressure me into a right now type of setup, then I don't know that you have my best interest at heart, or you're banking on me making, a rational decision. I just don't know that that's something that is going to be healthy. Right? It used to work back in the day when you're like negotiating over $20. Like, you're buying some and you going back over a couple hours like, yo, final offer, take it or leave it. Okay, cool. But the partnerships, some of these bigger things, I have to know that I can say that even if you provided me with your final offer, that taking 24 hours to get back to you is not going to make or break the deal, right? Like, if we've come this far and we've put some time together to make things work, a rush offer or forcing someone to make a decision just so that you can close it, for me personally, it could work for some other people. I'm not knocking it. But for me, I just don't think it's a good sign, right? I like to at least know that I have some time to think about something and make irrational decisions. The bluff or the rush pump fakes, that's just you looking for an opportunity to force a blunder or an error and capitalize on it. So for me, I've always looked at those as red flags too and said, you know what, if a situation like that comes up, I'd rather purposely slow it down and see how you respond to that and see if the facts line up. Because I noticed that whenever things are being rushed, it's just like trying to get over on a quick one. So if you slow it down and start to see like if timelines match up, if all the facts that have been stated previously line up, then cool. Maybe you have a battle or a leg to stand on. But in most cases, that's when things start to really come to the light and you're able to see things very clearly like, oh, but this don't match up because you said this was going to take 2 days, but now you're saying it's going to take 4 weeks. And so if I would have said yes here, what about these other 3.5 weeks? So for me, I'm always like, no, rush that pump fake to rush someone into doing something, not the best approach. Doesn't work for me, at least. I need to be able to think through something and make it work that way so it's not forced on either party.
That's just a fact. No, that's a fact. But and the funny thing about that one is that when you ask something in rush return, it's not the same energy.
Oh no.
It's never the same energy.
Yeah.
So weird. Okay.
Well, we talked about it a little bit today too, though, which is, and I mean offline we talked about it, but you gotta. There's a level of self-awareness or honesty that you gotta have whenever you're showing up to a negotiation. All right.
Yes.
Not only do you need to know what you're good and not good at, but you need to know who has the leverage.
Yes.
All right. Leverage is the person who pretty much can walk away from a deal or an opportunity and it's not going to be hurt by it. They're like, actually, you know what? I can still be perfectly fine without you. And whenever you're showing up to any level of conversation that's going to revolve around what feels like a negotiation, you need to be honest with yourself about who has leverage. Sometimes we let our optimism or how good we feel about something or how bad we want something make us think that we have the leverage. And you often are misled or lose in some situations because the person might turn around and say, actually, no thanks. So we had another situation just a couple months ago, actually, where we thought, oh, we have full leverage here. Actually, we're getting them a sweet deal. And the other party just turned back and said, actually, no.
Yeah.
We don't want it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like, no. And our whole strategy on the back end was, oh, they gonna counter and we gonna negotiate. And if they say this, we gonna hear, oh, we got the sweet deal. This is exactly how it's gonna go.
Right.
Our optimism, our desire for wanting something, I'm just being honest, our desire for wanting something made us miscalculate who has the leverage. So whenever you're entering these conversations, be honest. Who can walk away? Yeah, straight up. Absolutely. Who can walk away and not be fazed by what happens here? And if you're honest about that, you'll know, okay, do I need to compromise a little bit? Yeah, I'll still do my due diligence and make sure I'm getting my worth the whole nine and figure out what's fair and equitable. But do I need to compromise and maybe give a little bit more than I'm willing to take just because they have more leverage? Or do I have full leverage and I can really stand on what I have and demand it? So I will say that has been a big lesson too. Like, be honest with yourself about that. Because once you get the no thanks response, that changed the whole game. I was like, oh, no counter? We're not going to do the 15, 17, 16 and a half. No, none of that. Just straight no.
Yeah.
Surprise. Surprise.
I remember that. Like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Like,
Nothing. That's it. Crickets.
But the crazy thing is some of us expected that. Some of us were, what? But I think also, and that's why I said, like, be humble. It's like understanding the influence, but still coming into everything like this could possibly be a mutual situation. So we still have to not think so much of self, but understand there are two parties. And if I'm trying to do something for my benefit, they're instantly going to think of, okay, what's my benefit too? And if it doesn't align, yeah, it's going to be a no. It's going to be a, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Try again, right? But if you come in, I'm going to do this, and that's what it is. And all they going to do is just bow down and say, okay. What else they going to do? Right. They don't know who I am, nor do they care.
Wow. I got 2 questions in the last 9 minutes here.
Go.
When you do have the leverage,
Yep.
how do you operate that you don't take advantage? You know, like we just talked about, okay, this person can walk away and whatever. Or in some cases, you have the leverage, so you know that the other party may need you a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So how do you operate so you're not being a little bit too aggressive or taking too much or just going beyond what's fair and what's equitable? And I forgot the other question. By the time you answer this one, I'm sure I'll remember it. Yeah.
So, okay, let me get this straight. So how do you still take advantage of the leverage without being too cocky with it? Is that what I got out of it? Or no?
No. So let's say you and I are entering an agreement or we're negotiating. You have the leverage.
Okay.
How would you move so that even knowing that you're not just almost operating in a way that's unfair and not equitable? You know, it's like, okay, it's one thing to have leverage and you want to use it to your advantage, but not so that you're just like straight up violating the other party. Like, I think there needs to be some ethics in business, although it is, what they will call a dog eat world dog.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, you gonna know, you pretty much have the upper hand, right? But for it to be a long, and it all depends, really. Is this a long relationship or a short relationship? That plays because there are some short-term partnerships and situations, right? So if this is a long-term, I'm not trying to get over on my man. That's not what I'm trying to do. Like, if I'm playing the game right and I give him a certain percentage, that isn't going to hurt me. This is the thing. A plus is a plus. The fact that you actually have another person who can add on to the revenue, right? You were not making any revenue off of this idea, off of this situation in the beginning, right? Yeah. Now, if it's something that's already established, right? You have to look at it of how much are they going to add to this current project, this current company, this brand. How much are they going to add to? What is that going to equal up into dollar signs? And how much am I trying to make goal-wise, right? Because if you could still make that amount and maybe not necessarily take the bulk of the percentage, right? Where it's now like, okay, I'd rather people who work with me feel like we're partners than necessarily a contractor.
Yeah.
They have as much say. Still, final word does have to come to me, but they have a lot of rights to say whatever they want to say, move the way they want to move, as well as when we are doing something, there is benefits to them, right? There is leverage also for them. That down the line is worth way more because they're happy. We had this conversation. How do you take care of talent? Right? How do you put energy, focus, money into talent? Because that's hard. Getting people is not hard. Getting talent is hard.
Talk about it.
That is a whole other topic, right? Getting people is not hard. You can find a bum on the street, you give them some dough, hey, please do this over and over again. They'll do it. Now, for how long is the question, right? But when you have talent, you go, all right, what's fair to you? You got to ask what's fair to them. Now, you could tell off bat, I want umpteen amount of money, and you're like, oh, you think I'm a cash cow? This is crazy. Hold on. Right there, you can cut it into a short relationship. I think that conversation is very important. What would be fair to you? What would take ease off your mind, and what would keep you happy? And they're like, if I can get out of this and do this and make this amount of money and blah, 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 and you want me to sponsor you. Oh, I am everything to you. Oh, okay, cool. Short term. How much money can I make out of this person in short term that they will still get what they want, but I make more? Right?
That's good.
But from a long term, if this is something I'm going to make sure from a money wise, and me and Moose had this conversation because he was like, it's not about money. And for me, based off my trauma, based off my trauma, right? There has to be an exchange of money. I don't care if it's 3 cents. There has to be an exchange for money. So I am not trying to keep everything in my pocket. What's mine is yours. We're good. You are always going to be taken care of. I'm going to be taken care of. Whoop-de-woo. Some may have to sacrifice in the beginning. Some may get the most in the end. Whatever. When we add it all up, it's equal. You feel me? But that's not an everybody relationship. That's not an everybody relationship, but it is important that at the end of the day, what are the needs of people? Are they sheltered? Do they have enough to get food, water, be chilled? Like, what do they have enough for that? You feel me? Like, if they are struggling to pay bills and things like that, that's a problem. What can you do to alleviate some of that stress? Don't take on all. You cannot take on all. That is a lot. Unless you are like, I cannot lose them at all. At all. I come hit. Just live in my house. Just live in my house.
Got extra room for you. Come through.
Live in my house. If that's a situation, come live in my house.
Yeah, shout out to you.
The one person could do that. Shout out to Isaiah. If anything, he knows that. Come live in my house.
Right.
You good? You can't go nowhere, sir. So live in my house, right? Yeah. I can feed you. We could go eat Puerto Rican food and all that great stuff. I'm working out twice. If you want to do that too, cool. No pressure. But stay in my house.
Come through. Yeah. Nah, that's it, man. That's it. I hope this was, just a helpful guide. We didn't want to go too deep with it and get it super complicated because, of course, it's going to vary based on your situation. That's the truth. But if nothing else, I hope that you are starting to see that, there's a lot of different ways to do this. And it's quite normal to talk money. Again, the best time to talk about it is in the beginning so that you can be clear about it. And as long as you're not getting angry or worked up about the response and what's happening, and you know what you want, what's a great price, what's a bottom price, and what's a happy medium, and you're mindful and prepared for those things ahead of time, you can enter any discussion and just have a talk and figure out what's fair. take some time to think about it if you need to, and keep it moving from there. So yeah, that's the basics around negotiation. Of course, if you got more questions, drop them in the comments. Maybe we'll come back around and answer them if you got any.
This is a fact. Anyways, people, we are out. We love you. We appreciate you. Go check out the new episode 88. We went in on that. I actually re-listened to it. It's really dope. Okay, it's really, really dope. If you enjoyed this, take a screenshot for us that you're watching this. Share it on your story. Say, yo, everybody go watch Nicky and Moose. I don't care if it's the live. I don't care if it's any of the clips, the full episodes. Go listen and watch Nicky and Moose. But you know what we're going to say.
Peace, y'all.